Hello everyone and welcome back to my cake world. In this week video, I'll show you how to decorate a graffiti themed cake, which I did some time ago for a teenager. Now, some of the images painted directly onto the fondant and some are not. So I'll show you how to get that graffiti look as if all the images have spray painted onto the wall. And also I'll talk you through how to troubleshoot when you are painting on cakes such as these. Now for the figure, of course, I'll have a separate video done to show you how I made the figure. Okie dokie, let's get on with the video. I'm starting with the cake covered with fondant. Now from bottom quarter of the whole cake structure is styrofoam. I needed height for the design and less cake, so I used a styrofoam for the bottom. I pasted that with some melted chocolate to a cake drum, and on top of the styrofoam I placed a cake board that is also pasted with some melted chocolate, and after that I stacked all my cake layers. Once that is done, I've inserted a cake dowel that runs through the center of the whole cake structure to halfway of the cake drum. All of these steps gonna ensure that the styrofoam or the cake layers won't slide here and there while you deliver it or while you decorate the cake. The base look of the cake I went for was sort of concrete look. So here I'm giving details to get that effect you'd see on concrete. Now I'm using my tools and making cracked lines and cavities and holes to get that effect. And when I'm happy with the details, I filled it up with black color, the cavities and the lines, and wiped it off with a cotton pad dipped in alcohol to get that old dirty concrete effect. For the cake topper, which is a brick wall which sits on the cake, I'm using a foam board. Now for that, I used a piece of brick textured fondant. I pasted that onto the foam board with some piping gel and I let it dry flat before I airbrush on that. Here I'm arranging the foam board for airbrushing, and I've cut out the message in the font that I need, and I'm pasting that onto the fondant with some shortening so that it does not move here and there when I'm airbrushing. Now, all my images, I didn't paint them directly onto the cake because paintings like this takes time, and therefore the cake is gonna sit outside for a long time, and I have to put the cake in the fridge in between, and when I bring it out, if there's temperature difference, the color might bleed. So it's a lot of hassle and a lot of troubleshooting. So to save time and prevent all those issues, I painted them in a separate piece of fondant and then cut it around and then pasted them on the cake. Now the trick here is to get that seamless graffiti look, that as if you have directly painted on the cake, is to roll out your fondant paper thin, see-through thin, and then even when you cut and paste it on the cake, it's not gonna give that embossed look as if you have just pasted a piece of fondant on the cake. So another tip, when you are painting on fondant, make sure to leave it to dry for a couple of minutes. Roll it out and leave it to dry for a couple of minutes before you paint on them, to avoid any smudges or fingerprints on them. When you are making cakes like this where you have to paint all over the cake, it is advisable to frost your cake with ganache rather than buttercream, because ganache set hard and it takes longer time to go soft, whereas buttercreams become softer very easily. So ganache gives you more time to paint on the cake. Now, once I pasted the images onto the cake, especially on the brick textured area, I took my tools and ran down the brick lines on top of the image to emphasize on the brick lines. So it looks as if the design is spray painted onto the wall and it's not just a piece of image pasted onto the cake. Okay, so finally for the cake topper, I inserted two wooden skewers to the foam board either side of it and then inserted that to the cake. Same for the figure, inserted a toothpick to the bottom of the figure and pasted that on top of the cake with some piping gel. With that, the cake is done. Alright guys, so this is the final look for the cake. It was delightful to make this cake. I enjoyed every bit of it. I hope you enjoyed watching this video too, and hope you got inspirations, learned a few things along the way. And do remember, it's not just a piece of cake, it's a work of art. With that note, I'll be seeing you soon with another video. Until then, take care you guys.